don't wear a white baseball cap either.
Okay. Well, let's just look at the video evidence now then, because there was actually very little initially at 7/7. What video evidence did they actually put out initially, shortly after the attacks?
Well, they didn't put out any video at first. All they put out was a photograph of the 4 alleged bombers outside Luton train station. They put out this photograph, and there are so many anomalies in this one single time-stamped and date-stamped photograph that it's obvious that it's a forgery, that it's been done on Photoshop or on somebody's computer, and
there's part
a lot of people on the internet have done analyses of that photograph, and everybody says that it is a fake and that it's been doctored and it's been made up, and they show the different anomalies. And I've actually now done, and this is also on the Friends of Muad'Dib website, I've done an analysis. I've taken somebody else's analysis and done some editing and some additions to it of that photograph, showing just why, what the anomalies are and why it is a forgery.
Okay.
And once you establish that, that the authorities have fabricated evidence, you then have to question absolutely everything that they tell you.
Yes, yes. And of course, probably we can speculate the reason why they would use a single frame is that it would be almost impossible to fake actual moving video footage of 4 guys, leaving a tube station.
Yeah.
Whereas
they were actually entering the tube station in this photograph. But yes, that's true.
Okay. Now, the other thing that intrigued me was the type of explosives that were allegedly used, that they were mixed together in a bath in Leeds, I think it was. And I heard
in Beeston, I think it was, which is a district. It's part of Leeds. It's a district of Leeds, Beeston.
Okay. And it was discovered that it was actually military-grade explosives that were in fact used. So tell us about the different types of explosives then.
Well, there was the head of the French police terrorist group came over, and he's the one actually initially released the information that it was not only military grade, it was high grade military explosive that was used. Whilst the official story was that it was, I think it's called TAPT explosive that they mixed up in a bath. It's peroxide that they use, and the TAPT is highly volatile. It's very, very dangerous, and it's not the sort of thing they could carry in a car. Going over bumps and things,
right?
And also, they certainly couldn't put it in backpacks and be running up and down stairs to catch trains and all the rest of it. It would be far too dangerous to do so.
And just
sorry, go on.
Yeah, and just to touch on another key piece of evidence, which is the fact that the train that they were initially alleged to have caught was in fact cancelled.
And the following one as well, the one after it was cancelled. And so the government was saying that, they caught the 740 train from Luton to Thameslink, King's Cross. And it was cancelled, and the one after it. So they couldn't possibly have made it in time to be at Thameslink, to then go from Thameslink into the mainline station and then down into the underground, buy tickets, and then catch these tubes. It was physically impossible for them to be able to do so. And nobody on the trains that left Luton remember seeing any of them going from Luton to Thameslink. There's no evidence at all. The people who were there, the witnesses, eyewitnesses, say that they would have remembered if they'd have seen those people on those trains, or on the train that they're supposed to have caught. The government then came out and said that they caught an earlier train, but even if they had have managed, which it's virtually impossible for them to have made it in time, looking at the timestamp on that photograph outside Luton Station, for them to get into the station, buy tickets, and then get up the stairs and get to the platform to catch that train is almost impossible. They would have had to run, and they had heavy backpacks with, we are told, all this volatile explosive. Nobody's going to run with volatile explosive in a backpack. Okay, so but even bearing that in mind, even if they had have managed to catch that earlier train, it still would not have got them there in time to have caught the tubes.
They were
so it's impossible. Yeah, so it's impossible for them to have been on those tubes and blown them up.
And did they buy return tickets?
Yes,
do you know?
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
Yes,
right,
they did.
And recently I've seen the BBC, whenever they sort of mention this, they keep showing this clip. I think it's supposedly at King's Cross. If there's three guys, I think, walking through that they're claiming to be the terrorists. Do you know if that image, CCTV image, came out at the time, or is this something that's fairly new? And can you explain why they've come out with this actual video footage of these alleged terrorists?
Later on, much later on, they've come out because of I believe anyway that because of my film, that they are worried about the effect of my film, because everybody that watches it believes that it is what happened, just as I believe that it is what happened, and I have them banged to rights, and they know that. And so it's got them worried enough that they're trying to extradite me and all the rest of it and punish me for making the film. But they put out, they had to react because the film is so compelling that they couldn't ignore it. I put them in a position where they had to react. They couldn't ignore it because it was gaining traction and people were watching it and obviously believing it, and there are millions of people that believe it. So they had to react. Normally, if something comes along and they're so powerful and all the rest of it, and they're established, and they just ignore things. Yeah. But they couldn't ignore this because it's so compelling. Yes. As you said in the introduction. So to try to fight the effects of the 7/7 Ripley fake film, they then came out with this short piece of CCTV footage at King's Cross Station, which is it's very poor quality. You couldn't definitively identify any one of the three that went through there. It wouldn't stand up in a court of law. It could even have been, there's no time and date stamp on it to tell us when it was. So it could possibly, the possibilities are that it could have been them at a later time getting there having missed the tubes. And so the authorities have blanked out the time and date stamp on that footage purposely.
Right. Yeah.
To cover that fact. Or the other possibility is that it could be actors dressed up to look like them. Yes. And we know they're quite capable of doing either of those things. So it doesn't really prove anything. If it was them, and it was later after the tubes have gone, then it's no evidence. It wouldn't stand up in a court of law, and it's very doubtful.
Now, if we just come on to what happened to these guys then after they've missed the tube, do you think they will have got wind of the explosions? So they're at the tube station saying, "Oh well, what we're going to do?" Before they've presumably, as you believe, they went towards Canary Wharf. What do you think happened to them after they got to the tube stations?
Well, trying to put myself in their position, which is what you have to do, really. If you get there and you're supposed to be taking part in a mock exercise, and then you find out that there's people being killed on the tubes that you were supposed to have caught, and the whole things have blown up, and there's all that chaos and carnage, the first thing you are going to think is we've been set up.
Yeah.
And then, of course, what do we do? You know, we're here in London. We're a long way from home. But even if we were at home, they know where we live.
Yeah. Because
they recruited us to take part in this. What do we do? You know, they would have been in a panic.
Yeah.
Absolute panic. And, of course, they would possibly think that the media would help them if they could get their story to the media before they got arrested. That the media would help them, but I know anyway, and most people who investigate these things know that the media are complicit, and that the media only put out what the government propaganda, whatever they're told to print, that they put out, and if the government don't want something put out, they put a D notice on it. And then if anybody tries to say anything, they put themselves in a position where they'll get arrested. The evidence points to the fact that they decided to go to Canary Wharf because Canary Wharf is where Reuters and a lot of the media are, and to try and tell their story there. And they also the possibility, as I've mentioned in the film, that if they couldn't get anybody in the media to help them, there was a possibility, with it being a wharf, Canary, the Docklands, that they could get a boat and get away, because they would know that, very shortly the police would be looking for them, and because the authorities would know who they were, and they'd have to get out of the country as fast as possible. But of course, they didn't make it in any case.
Tell us about the reports of the police marksman then.
Yeah, there was. It was reported in various newspapers also on the television, because that morning I was flipping channels on the television trying to catch all the snippets of news, because all the different TV news companies all have different variations of the story. So to get the whole story, you have to try and pick up as much information from different sources as you possibly can. Plus which, you normally get, if you're ever going to get the truth, you're going to get it in the initial reports before the government gets on board and has a chance to censor things.
Yeah.
And so you will hear things in the first reports that then suddenly disappear from the news, and you never hear them again. And so I was flipping channels, and on one channel, and I can't, unfortunately, I've been trying to remember, I can't remember which TV channel it was, but on one TV channel, the reporter said that there had been suicide bombers had been shot and killed in Canary Wharf. And then, of course, it was reported in, I think it was the London Evening Post, and various other, they're on the film anyway, on 77 Ripple Effect. So if anybody wants to know all the ins and outs and details, they can watch the film and see that.
I think I did see fairly recently on the net a YouTube clip of a journalist at a press conference. What's this about terrorists being shot at Canary Wharf, by police marksmen? I'm sure I've seen that, so I'll try and dig that out.
Okay.
The rumours that a police sniper shot dead a suicide bomber at Canary Wharf. Do you know anything about that?
We have no reports of any police sniper shooting dead anybody today.
Yeah.
Okay.
But of course, they will say that there were no reports.
Yes.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just